This program is brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, www.reevesfirm.com.
In the know. Good evening, everyone. In the know. Tony Reeves, fire. Following the news in any way, shape, or form. No shortage of things to talk about. What does it mean? What will it bring? Is this a reality we simply have to accept? Tony Reeves, fire. Tony Reeves. Let's go ahead and get started.
How to Survive the Disability Process 2016. Now, there are going to be people out here who are going to say, Tony Reeves, what you're saying was no different from what you said before. Well, a few things I think I may have brought up, but the reason why I'm bringing this up now is because I had a conversation with a client of mine the other day, and I realized how important it is for me to take the opportunity to share with you all those tips that you may not be utilizing. People, there's a phrase that attorneys like to use, and we use it on a regular basis. It's called exhausting all, in the Social Security concept, it's exhausting all administrative appeals. But attorneys, we use it in a different manner. We say, have you exhausted all avenues in addressing a situation? Now you say, well, what do you mean by exhausting? When we use the word exhaust, we want you to know that means, have you done everything you possibly can? And you would say, well, why is that so important? That's so important from one clear-cut reason: your credibility. Well, two, credibility and reason for or not receiving for treatment. But really, at the end of the day, it boils down to your credibility. I always start with the premise of almost most of my videos talking about, and I keep saying this over and over again, so please forgive me if I sound like a broke record. You bear the burden of proving that you're disabled, not the other way around. So it's important that you take every avenue that's available to you to get treatment to demonstrate that you're disabled. If you're saying you're disabled because of diabetes or asthma or a low back problem or, irritable bowel syndrome, or gastric, chronic pancreatitis, or any myriad of different conditions, it's important that you prove that you're disabled. Now, the reality is that when you're going through the disability process, most people don't have insurance. So you're stuck in this quandary of trying to figure out how in the heck am I going to prove that I'm disabled when I don't have any type of treatment out there or medical insurance to be able to do so. First of all, remember a couple of things. First, something's better than nothing. If you have nothing, that's what Social Security is going to rely on to prove that you're disabled. Nothing. So you want to give them something. So the questions that you better be prepared to answer is certain things about have you utilized every resource available to your disposal to get the treatment that you need to demonstrate that you're disabled. Let me throw out something that you need to be aware of. I was taught this years ago, and this is not. Somebody's going to say you're a condescending ass for saying that. I'm like, it's not meant for me, but I just need you to understand when I'm saying these things to you, I'm not saying them to be an ass. I'm saying you because I am playing devil's advocate because that's what the government's going to be presenting towards you. So it's amazing when I get great comments and people say he's being such an ass, and I'm like, I'm not trying to be. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to communicate to you things so that you know ahead of time. So if it hits you in the face at a particular level, you're not looking crazy. So let's start with the basic premise, okay? When you're trying to prove that you're disabled, you need to try to find and utilize everything that is available to you. Okay. When I say something is better than nothing, that means if you have nothing to rely upon, then neither does Social Security. If you have no medical treatment, Social Security is not going to create medical treatment. They're going to want to know what do you utilize? So let's kind of go down the line. First of all, be mindful. The government, Social Security, or judge, whatever the case may be, they're familiar with the resources in your area. Be careful about saying that none of those people work with you. So what do you mean by that? Let's say you don't have any insurance. I asked the magical question. Have you been to the health department? They won't help. What do you mean by they won't help or they haven't helped? What do you mean by they won't help? Well, I know. There's your first mistake. You said you know. Can you prove that? Well, I'm like, once again, remember, you have to prove it. It's not the government's responsibility to accept your word. You need to be able to show that you went to the health department, you filed, for whatever assistance you could get. Maybe they told you you had a share of costs. That basically means they'll cover the rest if you pay a certain dollar amount. It could be 20, 30, 40. In a tough economy, that $20 or $30 may be tough. You may not be able to pay that, but at least show the government I went to get a share of costs. I mean, I went to the health department. They offer me a share of costs. I can't afford that per month. Be careful though. Be careful, because this is where, and this is not meant to be nasty, but this is just how people think sometimes. Be mindful of your luxuries at the expense of your treatment. So what do you mean by that? If by some reason you're saying I don't have $20 to pay for a monthly copay visit to a health department doctor, but you got money to pay for cigarettes. And you're gonna say, well, I get people giving to me. Well, why don't you tell the people to give you the money instead so you can go to the doctor? And you're sitting there going, Attorney Reeves, that is not even right. And I'm like, you're right, it's not right. And you shouldn't be penalized for that. But my philosophy is never let someone else decide or dictate your circumstances. If you give them ammunition to deny you, you give them ammunition. Don't give it to them. So guess what? When somebody says, and it's important, remember that, so that if you know that, okay, $20, I'm going to try to find my way to make that happen. So let's say you don't qualify for the health insurance. Are there any charitable or free or reduced care clinics in your area? If they are, have you used them? Okay? If you are, will you use them? Now, I know people say, what did you say about that comment you made earlier where you were like, what were you told before, Attorney Reeves? I forgot. My apologies. Let me bring back. Once, I had someone told me once before, people who are sick typically do whatever they can to get better. And let me just rephrase how he said it. He said, people who are sick don't want to stay sick. They will do whatever they need to do so they can make themselves feel better. That was a nice way of him basically telling me that most people will try to find a way to get whatever treatment they need, even if it's at their financial expense. Because if it's a choice between being broke and being sick, most people will take being sick. So let's say we've already gone down the line. We've said the health department. We've said free clinics. We've said reduced care clinics. We've said charitable clinics. Have you applied for the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare? You're like, well, I was told I didn't qualify. You were told by who? Did you fill out the application and one of the marketplace representatives told you you didn't qualify? Did you get a letter telling you that you did not qualify? Exhaust all avenues. Affordable care, reduced clinic. Was there doctors that you went to before who were willing to work with you despite your financial situation? Well, yeah, but I don't want to go to the one. Giving them ammunition. You want to be able to sit in front of a judge. If a judge asks you all those questions and just know, you can just roll off and just say, this is the deal. I've tried the health department. The share of cost is too high. I can't afford it. I don't have any money coming in. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't have any luxuries and so forth. I have bare minimum. I only have food stamps, and I'm staying at my grandmother's house in the back room. There are no community clinics. Yes, I went to this free clinic, but it's not really free. They're asking for a higher share of cost. I've applied for the Affordable Care Act. Here's the paperwork that shows that I've applied, and it's denied me. I don't know what else more to do. Guess what? Am I saying that you've satisfied everything? I'm saying what you've done is you've demonstrated to Social Security that you've exhausted every effort to demonstrate that you're disabled. And now you're going to stop and you're going to say, well, what does that mean in terms of helping me prove my case? It doesn't make it easier. It doesn't make it easier. But what it does do is that it adds to your credibility to show the Social Security Administration that you have utilized every avenue available to you in order for you to show the government that you've done everything you can to prove that you are, or at least get the treatment to prove that you're disabled. Remember, at this instance, it's all about survival. Now, I'm going to back up again because some people say, well, you're talking survival tips. A lot of my oldies but goodies still remain the same. Most people I tell, when you're going to apply for disability, brace for 2 years. Now, you say to me, well, that's really messed up, Attorney Reeves. I said, that's the reality. Brace for 2 years. Brace for 2 years and know that you're going to be utilizing resources you've never used before. You may be using public assistance. You may be using food stamps. You may be staying with friends. You may be staying with family members. You may have to maneuver from place to place. Remember, your case is a federal court case, so it follows you. So if you move, let the government know so that your case goes with you. If you have a representative before you move, make sure you speak to your representative so they can tell you what your options are. If you know where you're going, let them tell you what the environment is It's like, for instance, I had a client that came to me that went from one ODAR location and they moved out of state to another one. And I told them in advance, be mindful that you are going to a tougher location. And they were like, we got to go. I said, I just need you to be prepared for the reality that if you get there and the judge you may run across may be a lot tougher than you are here. And they were like, well, are you trying to tell me we should stay? And I told them, I said, I'm not telling you anything. What I'm telling you is this. I'm not telling you that you need to stay here because you're going to get a better chance of getting disability benefits here, because you can still get a judge that's tough here. What I'm telling you is you need to be mindful of the fact that your percentages of getting it goes down when you go to a different ODAR that's tougher. I'm just here to advise you. You have to do what you need to do to survive. And if that means relocating to a different area, do what you got to do. But I need you to understand that. Now, I'm saying all of these things when I say, well, Attorney Reeves, you don't sound like you're saying anything different before. I said, well, a few little added wrinkles. I've talked about the Affordable Care Act, which I don't think was in effect at the time. I may have. Some of you watch my videos a lot, so you definitely will come and say, Attorney Reeves, you said that before, man. You're like a broken record. Sorry. But I wanted to impress upon you this. When you're going to apply for disability benefits, be prepared for the long haul. Utilize that time. I know it's hard because you're not working, bills are running up, you got people to take care of, people who may be taking care of you, you're trying to survive. Just remember this thing. Do everything you can to utilize that time period in the manner that's the best manner possible, so that when the time comes when you're presented the opportunity to present your case, you have done everything you can to present it in the best manner possible. Just recognize that you're going to probably find yourself in a situation. I always tell people, and I've said this before, it is not a part of anybody's life plan to apply for Social Security disability benefits. This is not something that they talk to you about when you're growing up. So you're now in a position of having to do the things you need to do in order to survive. Do what you can for your benefit. All right, when we come back next week, we're going to talk about the danger of withholding information during the Social Security disability benefits process, right here on Q&A, Social Security Disability Today.
Good evening, everyone. In the know. Tony Reeves, fire. Following the news in any way, shape, or form. No shortage of things to talk about.